Watching the new Fallout series had me wondering, can you do a one-shot challenge in the Fallout games? For those of you unfamiliar with what a one-shot challenge is, the rules are pretty straightforward. The first and most important rule is every enemy has to be killed with one shot. Now in Fallout I need to specify that this means either one bullet per enemy or one melee swing per enemy. If you get to a point where you cannot kill an enemy in one bullet or melee swing, the challenge is over. You can do optional quests, but you must complete the entire main story. I'll be going nowhere near the level 30 cap, I'll probably end somewhere around level 15 or 16. And the last rule is no cheating. So minor glitches that save time, such as getting you more caps and things like that, will be allowable, but absolutely nothing that changes the damage of combat. If you enjoyed this challenge run, do me a solid and smash the like button, and if you want to see more challenge runs like this, then be sure to subscribe. So how can we pull this off? Well, I'm going to try to combine as many of the damage buffs available to me, so I've planned ways to go and get access to some of the strongest weapons in the game early on. Then I plan on taking advantage of the automatic criticals you get for sneak attacks. I prioritized all the damage modifying perks that I could into the build. We can grab a couple of consumables that'll boost our damage considerably. And we're going to be scaling our damage right from the start by making the correct skill choices at every level. Now let's take a quick look at how damage is calculated in this game and how we can maximize that damage. Now the first part of this equation is obviously just going to be the base weapon damage. And this is just how much damage the weapon does with every bullet or melee swing. Then we're going to add to it the number of projectiles that weapon shoots, times the critical damage multiplier for that weapon, times the 50% bonus for the better criticals perk once we have that. Then we multiply that number by the 200% bonus for a sneak attack with bullets, or the 500% bonus for a sneak attack with a melee or unarmed weapon. Then we multiply that number by the 200% headshot bonus. Then we multiply that number by the 5% bonus for the Bloody Mess perk. Then we multiply that number by the 10% bonus for the Black Widow perk. Then we multiply that number by the 25% damage bonus for the consumable Psycho. Then finally we multiply that number by the 10% damage bonus for the Yao Guai meat consumable. Now let's take a look at a real world example of a weapon that I actually plan on using from a pretty early point in the game. The sniper rifle shoots one projectile, it has 40 base damage and 40 critical damage. So if we just substitute those three values into this formula and do the math, we can see that we should expect to do about 635 damage. Now remember, that's the maximum possible damage with all of these buffs against a male target with a sneak attack headshot. The sniper rifle is one of the strongest weapons in the game, with one of the highest base damages and one of the highest critical damages possible. So a maximum of 635 just doesn't seem all that crazy when things like Deathclaws have 500 HP, Ant Queens have 1000 HP, and Super Mutant Overlords have 1250 HP. This is where we're going to start to take advantage of things like the Terrible Shotgun. This gun has 80 base damage, which is 8.9 damage times 9 projectiles that it fires, and the same 40 critical damage that the sniper rifle had. We can use a really cool mechanic that's unique to Fallout. In this game, if you fire outside of VATS with a multi-projectile gun, the critical damage bonus is multiplied by each individual projectile. So instead of adding a total of 60 damage with the Better Criticals perk, you're adding a total of 540 damage to your base damage with the Better Criticals perk. So if you happen to land all headshots on a sneak attack outside of VATS, you could pull off almost 4000 damage with this gun. Now first we have to one-shot our way all the way to these weapons, one-shot our way to a high enough level to unlock all of these perks and consumables. And I don't even know how we're going to one-shot our way out of Vault 101 yet, but I don't believe in impossible, so let's dive in and see if we can do this. First, a message from today's sponsor, Stunlock Studios. The official release of V Rising is finally here. Experience a vampire survival action RPG adventure like no other. Rise from your grave after centuries of slumber and hunt for blood to regain your power. Explore a vast, open world of dark fantasy, face humans and monsters alike, and worse, the deadly sunlight. Unleash your creativity. Build your own unique gothic castle. Don't forget to craft a coffin for your well-deserved rest after a long, sinful night. Hunt alone or gather a clan, V Rising can be played both solo or co-op with friends. In a world of conflict, be the vampire who reigns supreme. Do you dare challenge the throne of Dracula?
Come forth, young vampire.
V Rising is out now on Steam. The PlayStation 5 version is just around the corner. Check the links in the description below. So let's start the challenge. We're going to start a new game, and like a true professional, I'm going to be born on my first attempt. Now because we want the Black Widow perk for more damage later, we're going to pick a girl character. And then this is the optimal stats that I came up with for this challenge run. We want enough strength so we can still carry stuff and get strong back later on. Perception's gonna help us see enemies early on our map, which is great for detection when sneaking. Endurance and charisma we don't really need, but we took a little endurance to get strong back later on. We push intelligence all the way up to 9 because we want as many skill points per level as possible. We obviously want high agility on a small guns build. Then we went high luck for the crit chance. So now flash forward to your birthday party, you're gonna get your Pip-Boy, and then we're gonna go down to where the Radroach is, and we have to find a way to one-shot that thing. The best way to do this is to go unarmed and then attack with that so that you miss the Radroach and you end up on the other side of the barrier with it. This allows you to hide in the corner out of sight from the adults and the Radroach and get the sneak attack critical that you need to one-shot it with the BB gun. Then just unequip the BB gun and do the same thing, go unarmed and attack Dad in the VAT system so that you can attack him with a melee to get on the other side of the barrier again. You'll do some damage to him, but he will not aggro with one hit. You could just reload and do the same thing as the Radroach where you just go until you miss him as well, but since he's not an enemy, I didn't really worry about it. Before you leave to take the goat exam, be sure to take the medicine bobblehead off the desk. This is missable, so you need to grab this before you leave the vault. On the way to the classroom, you can pass a speech check with Butch to get a little bit of XP and karma. I just elected to skip the exam so that I could pick my tag skills that I wanted. I chose science, small guns, and sneak because they're going to be the most beneficial to the build early on. We really want to max out our sneak and small guns as soon as possible. Since we put 9 points into the special stats that correspond to these three, they all start off at 25, so with the tags we can push them all to 40 really early, which is super helpful. We really just need to get science to a point where we get the average terminals, which is only 50. So now we get to the point where Amada wakes us up and tell us that our dad is gone, and she'll also give us a 10mm pistol. Then just loot the rest of your room before leaving. I would say the really important pieces are the baseball bat, the skill book, and the pre-war baseball cap. The baseball cap gives +1 perception. Then just wait until the Radroaches are attacking Officer Kendall and get a sneak attack on him for a one-shot. And then because I didn't know how things were going to go, I didn't waste any bullets on Radroaches. Instead, I just equipped the baseball bat and I hit them each one time. Radroaches don't have a lot of life, so it turns out the baseball bat was more than enough damage to one-shot them. After taking out both the Radroaches, I looted Officer Kendall's body to get the security armor. This has really good damage resistance for early game. Then I helped Butch's mom by one-shotting the 3 Radroaches in their room. And then I moved over to the cafeteria where there were 3 more Radroaches I had to one-shot. Then I came across this crazy scene where Officer Gomez and a bunch of Radroaches were getting roasted. Officer Gomez is actually friendly, but because this happened, I was able to get a little bit of extra loot from him. Then it was time to head up to the atrium and one-shot Officer O'Brien and Officer Richards with sneak attack criticals. I was actually surprised that this pistol was able to one-shot them even with a sneak attack critical with that armor on. Now I'm not going to show looting every corpse the whole game, I just wanted to show a little bit early on to show how we build up some money. So moving forward, I one-shot the Radroach on the stairs, but then I had to wait and hide in this corner for the security chief to walk past me because for some reason he was in this part of the upper atrium this time. Then on my way to the overseer's office, I took care of another Radroach and then I looted Floyd Lewis's body. The Vault Utility Jumpsuit gives us 5 extra lockpick and repair. This will save us 5 points that we otherwise would have had to put into lockpick. So heading into the Overseer's office, we're going to loot Jonas and then we're going to pick this lock for 20 XP. And then we could actually get the password for this, but we want to hack the terminal for the 20 XP. Open the Overseer's tunnel, but don't forget to loot the lockers nearby before leaving because there's 120 10mm rounds. Now we get to watch the iconic opening of Vault 101. And if we're quick about this, we can actually get out of here before the other security officers come. So we managed to one-shot our way out of Vault 101, but the game is just beginning. The 200 XP that we got for escaping Vault 101 will be enough to push us up a level. I pushed Sneak to 50, Small Guns to 44, and Science to 45 because with the lab coat we can actually push our Science to 50 and hack normal terminals. Since we're relying on one-shotting things with Sneak criticals, we want to get Sneak and Small Guns to 100 as soon as possible. For our level 2 perk, we're going to be taking Black Widows, so we do 10% more damage against male opponents, and we get special dialogue options with them as well. Now before heading to Megaton, it's always smart to stop and loot Springvale. There's quite a bit of loot around here. So be sure to check all the safes and mailboxes and then make your way to this small house here. When you head inside, immediately do a quick save so that you can do the speech check multiple times until you're successful. And when you're successful, you'll get 10 XP and 400 bottle caps. Trade a little bit of karma for the Psycho on the counter in the back room. And then make your way over to Megaton, and again, do a save as soon as entering Megaton before speaking to the sheriff. This way you can save scum the speech check until you're successful, and if you do so, then when you disarm the bomb here, you're going to get an extra 500 caps. Now for some more early experience in caps, you're going to head to the water treatment facility and ask what you can do, and he's going to ask you to fix 3 leaks around town. Also head over to Craterside Supply and Moira's going to ask you to get irradiated. So take that quest and then sell her all the junk that you don't need for some extra caps. Then just drink the water by the Megaton bomb until you get advanced radiation sickness so you can do the optional part of her quest. Return to her and she'll remove all the radiation and you can move on to the next part of her quest. You have 2 choices, but I recommend going to the Minefield first, as we plan to head there anyways. Now just put on your Vault Utility jumpsuit and you should have enough repair to fix the leaks around town. I always just start off with the one right by the entrance, and then make my way up the ramp and do the one right next to Craterside Supply, and then I jump down by the bomb and loop around to the last one over by the saloon. Then just head back to Walter and tell him that the pipes are fixed and you'll get 100 XP and 200 caps. Now once we get this bomb disarmed, we should have over 1,000 caps, which is awesome for early game. So head over to Moriarty's saloon and head inside and go over to your right to Mr. Burke. You can use your Black Widow perk here to tell him that you don't want him to destroy the town because he's going to want you to set the bomb off. And we don't want to set the bomb off because we want a house here in Megaton, and we also want access to do all 3 chapters of Moira's questline. Now it's time to disarm the bomb in Megaton, and this requires 25 explosives. As you can see, we only have 19 explosives, but we have a way around this. We looted a bunch of mentats on our way out of the vault, so if you consume one of these mentats, it's going to raise your explosive skill high enough to disarm the bomb. So just consume a mentats and go check, and you should see that your explosive skill is now at 27. We don't really have that much use for these mentats on the playthrough anyway, so it's not like we're wasting it, and it lets us disarm the bomb immediately. And this will give us 500 caps and 300 XP, 2 things that are much more important early game. This will push us to level 4, and that's awesome because we need as many skills and perks as possible as early as possible. With this level, we're going to put our sneak to 53 and push our small guns all the way up to 60. Then for our level 3 perk, we're going to take intense training, which allows us to place 1 more point into a special skill. I went with perception because in a sneak build, it's just so convenient to be able to see ahead of time when an enemy's ahead of us so that we don't trigger and alert them. So whenever we see a red line on our compass, we know that we can start sneaking and get a sneak attack critical. Now from here, you're going to want to sneak up behind Lucas Sims and pickpocket the key to his house. We're going to lose a little bit of karma here with what we're doing now, but we have so much good karma that it doesn't matter at all. So once you have the key, just head over to Lucas Sims' house and go inside. And doing this gives us access to the strength bobblehead extremely early, so we can raise our strength permanently by 1 with this bobblehead, which also equates to us being able to carry 10 more pounds worth of stuff when we're out scavenging. I also traded a little bit of karma to steal the hunting rifle out of his house because it's a much higher damage weapon than our 10mm pistol. And as you can see, even after doing all of this, we still have good karma. And as you can see, disarming the bomb in Megaton also gives us really early access to our own house. And because of the carry weight limit in Fallout, this is just so convenient to have a place to store all of our stuff. So just store all your extra gear inside the locker. And then this has nothing to do with the run, but I thought I'd show this for those of you that don't know about it. If you go to Craterside Supply and you crouch in this exact spot, you can use your third-person camera to find a hidden locker that'll give you all the stuff that's possible to buy for your house. So you can save a bunch of caps and get the jukebox or the infirmary, laboratory, Nuka-Cola machine, workbench, all that stuff for free. And it saves you about 4,000 caps if you care about those decorations. Now I want to get to the hollowed out rock just on the southwest side of Megaton, but it's guarded by a couple of mole rats and I just wasn't doing enough damage with the pistol. So I went back to Moira and I had to repair the hunting rifle. And then I also needed some ammo for it, so I bought the 11 rounds that she had for sale. Now in regular combat, we still can't even one-shot a mole rat with a hunting rifle, but if we use a sneak attack for the automatic critical, then we do enough damage to one-shot them. Now I made sure to come back and do this at nighttime because it's a lot easier to sneak attack things in the dark. It gives you a huge advantage in terms of their visual detection, so I just made life easier and I used VATS to kill all 3 of the mole rats that were guarding the hollowed out rock that I needed to get to. And we're going to have to get used to this playstyle because it seems like sneak attacks are going to be the way to go. So now that we reach this hollowed out rock behind Megaton, we have access to one of the strongest early game weapons. The sniper rifle does 40 damage, but only at full condition. As you can see, this one's not in great condition, so it only does 23 damage. So we either need to repair with Moira, or we can save some caps and go find another sniper rifle and use that to repair this one. It's also really nice that we get 10 .308 caliber rounds and a stealth boy here as well. I'm going to try to do this entire playthrough without using a stealth boy if possible. So now I slowly crept my way northeast towards the Minefield, always stopping to check and make sure that I was hidden and not attracting any animals. I made my way up and around Minefield to the cliffs behind so that I could get a clear shot on Arkansas. And then I waited till daytime to get a better view on what's going on in case you guys wanted to replicate this one shot from this position. Now on the way down to his body, there's a ton of mines, so you have to be careful, but you get 5 XP every time that you disarm one of these mines. Basically, you just walk up to them and spam E to disarm them before they go off. Then we just make our way to the top of the building where Arkansas's body is, and we can grab the sniper rifle that he had. This is awesome because we had to come here for the quest anyways, and this saves us a lot of caps to repair our sniper rifle with. Then just be sure to loot his body and the surrounding ammo crates to get a bunch more 308 ammo. This caliber of ammo is actually really scarce, so we want to pick it up anywhere that we can find it. We'll also be conserving that ammo and only using the sniper rifle whenever we absolutely need the extra damage. You can also loot all the other crap around his bed to sell if you want. Then we're just going to use his sniper rifle to repair our sniper rifle to increase the condition a bit. And then I just went around the town disarming as many frag mines as I could as I saw them. Not only is it a bunch of free XP, but we can sell them as well to get a bunch of caps. Then I recommend looting all the houses in town because there's safes for XP, a bunch of caps, hunting rifles, all kinds of good loot inside of them. And the majority of it's usable, or you can sell it to get a bunch of caps, which we desperately need in early game. And then I recommend going around and grabbing all the frag mines that you can in town as well. They each give XP, and there's so many of them around town that you can actually hit level 4 here. Now for level 4, we're going to push small guns all the way up to 70, and we're going to put the rest of the points into sneak, pushing it to 62. Now for level 4, you always want to take the educated perk. This gives you more skill points every time you level, so it's very important that we take this as early as we can. After looting the rest of the town and disarming all the frag mines, head back to Megaton. We could turn in the Minefield quest to Moira, and then we could pick up the quest asking us to get food and medicine from the local Super Duper Mart. But before heading out to do that quest, be sure to sell her all the extra crap that you don't need so you can get a bunch of extra caps. And then try to get in the habit of going to your house before leaving town and storing all the extra stuff you don't need in the locker to keep your weight to a minimum. Now before hitting Super Duper Mart, I went north from the Minefield and I hit the alien crash site. Now the alien blaster is one of the strongest weapons in the game. I'm gonna try not to use it for the entire playthrough. It's more of a failsafe in case I get stuck and can't progress any further, but I really don't intend to use it at all. Now you can grab this extremely early by just coming over here to the crash site and picking it up off the dead alien. Just to clarify, I did not kill this alien, he was dead from the crash, so I just grabbed the alien blaster and all the extra ammo that I could, and then I headed over to the Super Duper Mart. So as soon as I rolled up to the Super Duper Mart, there were a bunch of Wastelanders running around, which I thought was weird. I thought maybe the raiders just spooked them. But then when I got around to the front, I saw the Wastelander fighting something, and I realized that it was not a raider, that it was a Deathclaw. And the Wastelander was obviously pretty badass because he got it really low in health, and I decided that if I'm not aggroed, I'd be stupid to pass up on a free 50 XP this early. So I got a one-shot in with a sneak attack headshot critical. It's kind of a bummer that I've already dumped so far into small guns, because with the Wastelander doing most of the work and giving us access to a Deathclaw hand this early on, where we never otherwise would have been able to one-shot a Deathclaw for a Deathclaw hand, we could have crafted a Deathclaw gauntlet and had a crazy unarmed build going early on. Anyways, moving on, we head into the door on the right side of the Super Duper Mart so we can easily sneak over to the food area. And while you're over here, make sure that you loot because there's a lot of good stuff, including 2 stealth boys. Again, I'm going to try to do the whole playthrough without a stealth boy if possible. Then you could technically finish the quest with Moira, but we're going to do the optional part as well. So we need to take out the raiders. We're going to start sneak attack criticaling them with headshots with the hunting rifle. Finding a path that worked with our sneak this low was actually kind of difficult without triggering the other raiders. So I took out the one in the aisles on the right side of the store. And then I hopped the counter when this one wasn't looking so that I could get a sneak attack on her from this dark corner. Then I just looted everything in this area and I moved down the hall towards the other 2 raiders. Through a lot of trial and error, I found it was easier to take out the one that was further away first because he'll pace back and forth and then sneak up behind the closer one. Then we're safe to loot everything nearby, which again, even if you're not going to use it, I recommend looting everything this early so that you can go back and sell it. Caps are going to be great, not just for buying ammo that you need, but for repairing stuff when you can't find another one of that weapon early on. Then we're going to hack this easy terminal so that we can get access to the room where all the medical supplies are. Now when you get inside this room, there's another terminal that you can hack to release a security robot. Now after running the maintenance routine, it's important to grab the ID on top of the terminal so that the robot doesn't target you as well. Now you can loot the rest of this little office. Now I would start off with the first aid box because that's going to have the pharmacy supplies to finish the optional part of Moira's quest. But there's a bunch of Nuka-Cola Quantums and other loot in here as well that you can grab. And now while the robot's used as a distraction, you can go out and sneak attack the raiders. Headshots with the hunting rifle seem to be more than enough damage to do the trick here. And after you're done taking care of the raiders, just run around and pick up all the loot that you can carry. Remember that if you're overweight and you have a bunch of the same type of weapons, just use them to repair each other and it'll consume them in the process, bringing your weight back down. Now it's time to head back to Megaton and turn the quest in. So just head back to Moira and tell her that you got everything, and then take on the new quest that involves us getting injured for her. And then just sell her anything you don't need, and everything else just go and stash it in your locker. Then I went back to the entrance of Vault 101 and I started to clear the raider camp just northeast of there on the bridge. Now thanks to how much we put into sneak and small guns early on, this went surprisingly smooth. And I even leveled after just the first 2 raiders. So I pushed sneak all the way up to 75 and small guns to 79. And then for my perk, I took comprehension so that I could start reading the skill books that I'd been finding. This gives you 1 extra skill point every time you read one of those skill books, so it's great to pick up early on. I always take it at level 5. Then from here I just cleared out the rest of the bandit camp because one of the bandits is holding a sniper rifle and I wanted to have that to repair my rifle if I needed it. Although at this point in the game, I'm still not using the sniper rifle unless I absolutely have to, and as you could see from this bandit camp, the hunting rifle is more than enough damage so far. The only part of this camp I found tricky was this last part because there's 2 raiders that are right next to each other, so I shot the one and waited for the other one to go investigate and caught them before they saw me. Then I just picked up that sniper rifle I mentioned and I moved on. Thanks to those extra points we put in perception, I saw this little ambush waiting for me and I was able to avoid it. And then as I approached the small church, I was greeted by a wastelander that was running on fire. So I snuck up to the raider responsible and I told him that it wasn't very nice and he shouldn't do that in the future. Then I snuck around the backside of the church and I disarmed the trap because it just did not seem like it would be a good time. There was a ton of good loot in here, including a mini nuke and a bunch of ammo. And then there were 2 skill books, one in the podium and then one that was apparently being used as reading material over by the toilet. And then this must have been a raider hideout because the rest of the raiders came back to the church, so I started picking them off one at a time. Apparently this one was weak from setting off that shotgun trap by the door. I must have forgot to disarm that. And speaking of shotguns, we actually found a combat shotgun on this raider, which is awesome. Because like we discussed earlier, 1 shot is actually multiple pellets that can all crit individually from sneak attacks. So we can use the shotgun when we need a lot more damage on bigger enemies. Then while heading south towards Tenpenny Tower, I accidentally discovered this power station. So now after a very long walk, we finally made it to Tenpenny Tower. Rolling up to the gate, we can see a pissed off Roy that wants to get into Tenpenny Tower. And if you save beforehand, you can actually pass a speech check here that'll get you in there without having to spend any caps. Now heading upstairs, you can either quick save and then save scum the speech check in order to get access to Tenpenny's suite, or optionally if you didn't want to do that, you could just sneak and steal the key off of this thing right here. Now you can just go out to the balcony and meet Tenpenny. We don't need access to him right this second, but we're going to in a couple minutes here. Before heading downstairs, make sure you're hidden and then grab the skill book off the desk. Then from Tenpenny Tower, we just head northwest towards the Warrington Station tunnels. There's a couple ghouls over here, but as you can see, it's not going to be an issue because even though I didn't have the sneak attack because I was spotted right away, I was still able to one-shot this feral ghoul. And then I was able to get a one-shot a second time even though I was spotted. So from here I went into the tunnels because we wanted to make our way over to Roy, and I started making sure that I was sneak attacking these ghouls to make things a little bit easier. If you're hidden and far enough away, even with a loud weapon like this, if you get a sneak attack, it will not alert the other ghouls to your position, as you saw there. So I just made my way up the tracks, headshotting ghouls from a distance until I reached a door. The ghoul in here is super creepy. He's some sort of a twitcher, so whoever coded that, no thank you. And you have to be careful because after you kill him, if you move up, you're going to alert the second ghoul that's waiting around the corner to the right. Anytime that you can lockpick an ammo box or a door, even if you don't need to, is a good call because you always get XP. Now moving forward, there's another room with ghouls waiting to ambush you. I think it's a good habit to start making quick saves before opening doors on this run. But honestly, where our sneak and small arm skills are currently, I feel pretty confident going into the rest of this run. Because ghouls don't have super low perception like super mutants, so if we're able to sneak up on them, I feel like aside from the very, very high-end perception enemies, that we'll be able to sneak attack a lot of stuff. And our damage seems pretty good so far, so we're really not going to know one way or another until we get to a higher damage enemy. But for humanoids, it seems like these headshots with the hunting rifle seem to be a good play. Honestly, I'd like to swap this out for the unique variant, which is the Lincoln's Repeater, but we have to get all the way over to the mall for that, and that's a very dangerous area. At this current stage though, it is a good sign when we're one-shotting enemies even when they see us because we're doing half damage when we're not getting the sneak attack criticals. This kill was tricky because you can see the gas leak in front of you, so if you go up into that room and fire your firearm, it's going to set off a giant flame. So I just had to be patient until that ghoul finally came out of the corner. Now that we finally reached the door to the Warrington Station, we're going to be greeted by Michael Masters. We just need to tell him that we're here to see Roy and he's going to guide us down to his location.
Oh, yeah? Is he expecting you?
Now there's multiple ways to go about doing this quest, but we're going to do the one with the good karma way just for the sake of showing it in the video. So Roy wants to live in Tenpenny Tower and he's not allowed, so he's saying he's going to release the feral ghouls in there to kill everybody. We're going to tell him that we'll solve it, we'll convince the people to let him live there, he doesn't need to do anything that extreme. Now before heading to Tenpenny Tower, I went ahead and cleared the rest of the tunnels for a little bit more XP, killing the ghouls down there. This isn't necessary, you could just backtrack the way that you came in, but I thought that more XP early on means more skill points and more perks. And I really don't know what to expect at this point in the challenge because all I'm killing are very low HP enemies. I need to gather what experience I can since I'm mostly just doing main quests. So now it's time to head back to Tenpenny Tower, and we need to convince Tenpenny that he should let Roy Phillips live there. He's going to be a little reluctant at first, but then he's going to say if the residents don't mind that he won't mind. So now the easiest way to go about doing this is just to pass a series of speech checks. So I'd put on any speech boosting apparel that you have, drink a whiskey for the plus to charisma, which affects speech as well, and then I would make a quick save before each person so you could save scum these speech checks. Then you need to pass these speech checks on 5 people. The first one is Lydia Montenegro, and her and 2 others are going to be on the bottom floor near or in the shops. The second person that you need to convince with a speech check is Anthony Ling, and for some reason his had a slightly lower success rate. And then the third person is Susan Lancaster. She was just by the main desk for me. And after her, the last 2 are actually up on the 2nd level, and they're a husband and wife in the same suite. The first one is Edgar Wellington II, and then his wife Millicent Wellington should actually be standing right next to him in their suite. And she's the 5th and final person that you have to pass a speech check with. Then you can just go up and tell Tenpenny that everything's taken care of. And at this point, he'll agree to let Roy and the other ghouls move into Tenpenny Tower. Now you just have to go back to Warrington Station and let Roy know. Go back to Roy Phillips and tell him that he's good to move into Tenpenny Tower and he'll reward you with the Ghoul mask. This mask will make you basically invisible to every ghoul in the game, making sneak attacks super easy. Finishing this quest also pushed us to level 6, so we can push small guns all the way to 90 and sneak to 86. That means with a bobblehead we can max out our small gun skill. With our level 6 perk, we're going to be taking Bloody Mess, which gives us a 5% damage bonus with all weapons to everything in the game. Now just swing by your house in Megaton and unload everything you don't need. And then we're heading way west to the Dickerson Chapel. Now along the way I found a bunch of super mutants and centaurs. And as long as I was sneak attacking, I was able to one-shot all of these with the hunting rifle. This was a pleasant surprise. I thought for sure that I was going to have to use the sniper rifle on them. These are the only 2 that gave me a hard time because one of them kept seeing me every time I killed the other one. But I found that if I shot and then immediately backpedaled like that I would remain hidden. If they don't see you, they go and search the area where the enemy died, not where you shot from, which is awesome. So I dropped a marker on my map where the chapel is so that I could have a visual cue to walk towards. I came across a few enemies on my way there. The first was a vicious dog, and the second was a random raider that I just saw walking by themselves. And then the third was just another vicious dog. Honestly, these things and mole rats are just everywhere in the wasteland. After finally making it to the chapel, I snuck up close enough to give you guys a vantage point of what we're after here. You'll see a drifter up in the window on the 2nd floor holding the reservist rifle. Now this is just a sniper rifle with a 3-round magazine instead of a 5, which doesn't really matter much, but it loses condition at a much slower rate than a regular sniper rifle, which is huge. So just kill the drifter and he should fall down to the 1st floor. And he should be the only enemy here, so then you can just walk up and collect your loot. Since the damage of a weapon is directly linked to its condition, this is a great sniper rifle to have early game. So this is what I planned as my primary weapon for the early part of this challenge run. And there's quite a bit of good loot in this chapel as well. There's all kinds of ammo, there's a combat shotgun, there's a skill book, and then there's a lot of 308 rounds, which are really hard to come by. So now I head back to Megaton and I want to wrap up Moira's injury quest. And for the optional side of her quest, I needed to cripple a limb, so I just used a frag grenade for that, and then I took my health below 50% by jumping off this ledge here. So now all we have to do is head back to her in Craterside Supply and turn in the quest, and then we can start the next quest with her, and I chose the mole rat one so that I could get the repellent stick, which one-shots mole rats. And it saves me having to sneak attack mole rats because I can just hit them once with the stick and then they'll explode. Now at this point I wanted to make my way down the river to Rivet City, so I passed the Citadel, where I was greeted by some very friendly Brotherhood of Steel paladins. Then swam through some nice irradiated water past the Jefferson Memorial since we don't want to go in there yet, and made my way into Rivet City. It just so happens that the bobblehead for intelligence is on a desk inside the science lab where we were already heading inside of Rivet City. I told Dr. Zimmer that I would find the android to start the replicated man quest, and we can actually do this entire quest without leaving Rivet City, and I'm going to show you how in a sec. Then we're going to progress the main quest by talking to Dr. Lee, who's going to point us towards the Jefferson Memorial Building. Now we just head to the Rivet City Clinic and talk to Dr. Preston about the android. If he's not here, make sure you wait till daytime hours. Then just go to Sister's hotel room and go inside, and there's going to be a holotape on the desk. Go to St. Monica's Church, and inside the podium at the front of the church is going to be another holotape. Then just ask Father Clifford about the holotape, and he's going to tell you about a man named Pinkerton. And you can actually get Pinkerton's location from talking to any Rivet City security guard, and they'll tell you that he's in the bow of the ship. The fastest way to get there is just to go back out the main door of Rivet City and jump in the water heading southwest. Once you're inside, there's going to be 2 Mirelurks that you need to take care of. The only way that I found to one-shot them was to use the sniper rifle and shoot them in their very small face with a sneak attack. I believe that area is their only weakness. Then I just disarmed the several traps that are waiting for you on your way up to Pinkerton. And once I got to his lab, I took the big book of science off the desk. And then you just question him about the android and he'll tell you everything you need to know. He'll even give you proof to take back with you. And he tells you that the android is actually Harkness, the security chief in Rivet City. And he gives you a recall code that you can use with Harkness to restore his memories. Now before heading back to Rivet City, go back to that desk where you found the big book of science and steal the Dean's electronics from the inside of the desk. Then I just went back to the market. I told Harkness that he's an android. He didn't believe me, so I used the recall code. He'll tell you that he remembers everything now, including Zimmer and the Commonwealth and all that stuff. And obviously he wants to go and kill Zimmer, but we need to convince him that we want to kill him, and then he'll give us the A321 plasma rifle. This weapon is very strong, and we're going to be investing into energy weapons later, so we want to pick this up now. We also get 40 microfusion cells and some karma, and then we get 300 XP. Now we're going to go back to Zimmer, and we're going to tell him that we found the android and that it was Harkness, the security chief. We're not actually going to betray Harkness, we're just doing this so that Zimmer will give us the wired reflexes ability. And this is a permanent perk that will increase your hit chance in VATS. So definitely don't pass up on this part even though you lose a little bit of karma. Because as soon as he gives you the perk, you can kill both of them and you get no karma loss and nobody in the science lab even cares. Now when leaving Rivet City, I got ambushed again by these guys and I decided that I was just going to take care of this so that I don't have to deal with it anymore. The sniper rifle was enough to kill 2 of the mercs from a distance, but the leader had too much health, so I had to bait him over here and use the combat shotgun with a sneak attack. So now we want to head to the Museum of History. As you can see on this map right here, it's going to be the next stop north from where we're currently at. So we'll just head down into the station and start clearing the raider camp in there. The first raider is pretty simple, he's just sitting there looking the other direction. And then the next 2 raiders we can catch walking away from us if we're patient and wait a second. And then the final one actually took me forever to find, but he's walking around below us in the dark. So then feel free to loot them and then be sure to loot the area with their camp because there's a skill book over there. And then we're just going to follow the tunnels northbound towards the museum station. There's 2 raiders sleeping in an alcove on the way that we can easily take out before they wake up. And then head through the door to the museum station and there's going to be another raider as soon as you get out that door. From here we work our way up the tunnel and take out the raider up on top of the train cars. And that was actually enough XP to push us to level 7. So here I push sneak to 90 so that way if I get the bobbleheads I can have small guns and sneak both at 100. Then I push science to the 50 breakpoint to hack average terminals without having to change gear. And I dump the rest into energy weapons because that's going to be the next skill that I want to max out. Then the best use of our level 7 perk was Entomologist. This will be super helpful on a quest that we're going to be doing soon where we're going to be fighting a lot of giant ants. So moving on through the tunnel, we had a rad roach and then another raider that we had to take care of. And at this point we have so much 10mm, I'm just using the silence 10mm on the rad roaches. Then there's a skill book and some chems in the women's bathroom. And then we're going to head up to the mall where we're going to pop up right next to the front door of the Museum of History, saving us a lot of sneaking around the super mutants. When you head inside, make sure you equip your ghoul mask because there's a ton of ghouls in the next section and you won't have to sneak around. So head into the lower halls and make your way upstairs and take out the sentry up there. It's currently targeting ghouls, but after that it will target you. Now with your ghoul mask, you won't aggro any of the ghouls, so you can easily just sneak up behind each of them and one-shot them. The key here is you have to make sure that you're hidden from other ghouls when you kill a ghoul, otherwise it will aggro the ghouls that see you. I actually had to use a shotgun on this ghoul because the hunting rifle and a headshot wasn't enough. Grab the skill book off the desk next to the glowing one that you just killed. And then in the case next to the desk, you'll see one of the most iconic weapons in Fallout 3, the Lincoln's Repeater. This is a unique version of the hunting rifle, but it does double the damage at 50 damage instead of 25, and it also has double the critical damage at 50 critical damage instead of 25 on the hunting rifle. It shoots 44 magnum rounds, but you can still repair it with a regular hunting rifle, which is one of the most common weapons in Fallout 3. This weapon's the main reason I went and got the ghoul mask early as well. Now we got what we came for in the Museum of History, but you might as well walk around and get some free XP killing the rest of the ghouls in here, because with the ghoul mask on, it's literally just free XP. Now because of this, I just stuck to the hunting rifle because I figured I would save the condition on my Lincoln's Repeater. Also, the 44 magnum ammo is a little bit harder to come by than the 32 cal. Also, be sure to always hack any terminal that you come across for the free XP, even if you don't need anything from it. And then before you leave, after clearing the rest of the ghouls out in here, there's 2 skill books that you can pick up in here. And then obviously there's a bunch of other random loot, so just pick up whatever you can carry as usual and then sell what you don't need and store the rest in your locker. I ended up saving a lot more than I needed to that I should have just sold early on because I didn't end up crafting much of anything on this run. Now I went back to that power station that we found earlier and there's actually a Yao Guai sitting right next to it in a trailer. Just pull out a shotgun and sneak attack it, but you definitely want to be sure to kill this thing because it'll give you the Yao Guai meat. And this consumable will stack with Psycho and increase your damage by 10%. Then I just ran northwest forever until I finally got to Evergreen Mills. And then from the cliffs above Evergreen Mills, you can easily take out the entire camp of raiders. You should also rack up quite a bit of experience here as you get 20 XP per raider. The best weapon in the game is located down inside of the main building here, but we'll get to that in a second. This is the point in the run that illustrates just how powerful it is to have the reservist rifle so early. It does great damage and it makes it really easy to pull off really long shots across the camp. So we can clear out almost the entirety of this camp without ever alerting a single raider. Now as we're clearing the camp, you might have noticed the super mutant behemoth in the electrified cage in the middle of the camp. There's actually a neat little trick involving him that I'm going to show in a second. So after clearing out all the raiders that I can from that cliff that I started on, I circle around to the right on the cliffs above the slave pens. And then from there I just went back and killed this one last raider that was in this little nook. There's also a raider in this little hut to the southwest that you can sneak attack. And there's tons of loot for you in here, but definitely don't leave without grabbing the skill book. Now if you're feeling lazy or you want to conserve your 308 ammo, you can shoot the generator that's powering the electrified fence around the super mutant behemoth, and then just lend it a hand by sniping the two raiders that are up above where he can reach, and then you can watch him clear the entire camp for you. He will literally kill every raider in the entire camp. Now the fight's going to go on for quite some time, and he's going to take a pretty significant amount of damage from the raiders, so it actually also gives you the opportunity to one-shot him if you sneak up behind him with a shotgun, because remember, outside of VATS, every single one of the pellets in your shotgun can crit. Now however you choose to do things, when you get done, just head into the foundry, and be ready to take out a raider right by the front door and then another one on the stairs just to the left. Then continuing up the stairs, there's going to be another raider at the top, but luckily you have a high enough sneak skill that you shouldn't be detected. And then after sneak attacking the raider in the room at the very top of the stairs, you can actually jump off the railing, and there's actually a skill book hidden here on this little ledge. Now head back to the top of the stairs and kill the raider across from you, and then inside the door there's going to be another raider for you to surprise. And now we're going to head back downstairs and head into the bazaar. In this area you have to be kind of patient and wait for people's aggro to reset, because there's two raiders directly across from each other, so just be careful and take your time and you should get all three of them no problem. And this was enough to push me to level 8. I put all my skill points into energy weapons because that's the next skill that I want to max out. This will give us a little bit more diversity in our arsenal that we're using throughout the playthrough. And then the perk that I chose for level 8 is Commando, which significantly increases our accuracy and VATS with rifles. Now this is going to apply to anything like a rifle, including shotguns. Now continuing down, there's going to be a raider patrolling in a little tunnel, and then another raider behind the counter to your right as you come out of that tunnel. Now in this little storage area is the bobblehead for barter, so be sure to grab that before you do anything else. This will permanently help with buying and selling costs. And then I found Smiling Jack in the corner over here like it was the Blair Witch Project or something. So here's a really cool trick with Smiling Jack. If you pull your fists out and you hit him once, and then you put your fists away, he will engage you in combat, but then he'll disengage when you put your fists away. Most importantly, he'll unequip the terrible shotgun. Then you can just pickpocket it from him and get the strongest weapon in Fallout 3 without even having to kill him or lose karma. So after selling all my extra crap that I picked up down here to Smiling Jack, I just went ahead and cleared the brothel because it was right there and it was free experience. There should be 5 raiders in total in here, so it's a quick and easy 100 experience that you can grab before leaving. And before you leave, be sure that you grab the skill book off the bed in the cage. Now when I got back outside, I was ambushed by this mole rat, so it's the perfect chance to try out the repellent stick, and it does one-shot them, it just has a delay before they explode. So now as I headed northwest, I made a point to go past Smith Casey's garage so that I could get this fast travel point because we're going to be coming back here later. And it's just going to save us a bunch of time of having to run back here and we're passing by it anyways. Then I popped another mole rat with the repellent stick. And while I was waiting for him to explode, apparently his buddies got really angry, so a bunch more mole rats came over as well. And it's pretty easy to keep track of the mole rat that you hit because they should be smoking all the way up until the point where they explode. And then also in VATS, you can see their health, so you can tell if they're full health to make sure that you don't accidentally hit one of them twice. Honestly, the stick is cool because it one-shots them, but it's a little bit annoying in how long it takes for them to pop after you hit them with it. And this is especially true when they're in large groups like this because it takes forever to get all of them dead. But eventually we pop the last one and then we're ready to move on. And I don't know what this thing was doing way up here, but I went ahead and one-shot it as well. Then I finally reached the entrance to the Yao Guai tunnels. Now we're here for a couple reasons. We do want the sneak bobblehead inside, which is the main reason we're here, but the Yao Guai meat boosts damage, so it is an awesome incentive to come here as well. This is also a great place to come get some experience because with a high sneak and the sniper rifle, it's a lot of experience with a little effort. And I actually felt bad for this last one because it was like someone ran up and took a photo that he just wasn't ready for. But with the main cavern done, I head into the den to clear out the remaining Yao Guai. And the beauty of this build is you never even have to get close to them, so they never really posed a threat. Now I did have to hit headshots on them at this point because I didn't do enough damage to kill them with one shot to the body. Now that's speaking in terms of the sniper rifle. Obviously I can one-shot them with one shot to the body if I get close enough and use the terrible shotgun. I just found it a lot more chill to take them out from far with the sniper rifle. After clearing the majority of the den, I went and grabbed the sneak bobblehead. With this, we've reached 100 sneak, which is the maximum for skills in Fallout 3. And the best part is that we've done so at a very low level. Then I took out a couple of Yao Guai that I apparently missed before leaving, because we don't want to let any of that meat or XP go to waste. Now I make a pit stop in Megaton and have Moira repair the reservist rifle, and I'm gonna set off east towards the National Guard depot. Along the way I found a couple of raiders, but they didn't pose much threat, especially from a distance. Then just keep following the road east until you see the National Guard depot. Surprisingly, the sniper rifle was strong enough to kill both of the robots that were guarding the entrance to the depot, so with them out of the way I was safe to head inside. And when you first get inside, there's a robot to your left you can take out with the A321 plasma rifle. And this weapon seemed extremely effective against robots and I have tons of ammo for it, so I'm going to use it as much as I can. It had no problem one-shotting the turrets as well, so that's a huge plus. And then even though you took out the turrets, we always want to hack the terminals for the turret systems to get that extra XP. Obviously it serves no real purpose to hack the terminal on a turret that we already destroyed, but the free XP is something we always want to grab. Now moving on, we're going to one-shot a couple more enemies and then make our way into the depot training wing. And when I got in here, I could not one-shot this Mr. Gutsy with our A321 plasma rifle, so I had to use a terrible shotgun and surprise him. But then I switched back to the plasma rifle to take out the turret from a distance. And then once it was safe, I went and grabbed the skill book off the desk nearby. And then again, I hacked the terminal for the turret that I just destroyed, even though obviously there's no point to doing so. Aside from, of course, obviously getting that 44 XP that we get for hacking it. Now moving forward, we get a little taste for just how much awesome loot is going to be in this National Guard depot. There's a ton of weapons and ammo here, this is just the beginning. So grab whatever you can carry and then head into the next room and kill the 3 robots in there. While I kill these robots, as you might have noticed, there's a sniper rifle on the table just in front of us. Definitely make sure that you grab that so you can use it to repair your reservist rifle. And be sure to grab the 308 caliber rounds next to it as well. The next room is actually pretty crazy, so there's 2 turrets that we immediately have to take out, and then a robot comes out the door a couple seconds later. Then there's another robot on the other side of those stairs, so we want to go up into the room and wait for him to walk by and sneak attack him from behind. Then moving forward, the next room's pretty simple. It's just 2 more robots that we can easily sneak attack without them ever knowing we were there. And don't forget the skill book on the table in here before you move forward. So now for the first major challenge of the run and the first scare as to whether or not the run was going to end. This is the toughest enemy in Fallout 3. As you can see, a sneak attack with a sniper rifle did almost nothing to it. In fact, putting an entire magazine didn't even take it to half health. Even the alien blaster barely got it to half health with 2 shots. So I had to get creative here because this thing had so much perception there was no way to sneak up to it. So after many attempts I came up with this strategy. Use the Yao Guai meat for the 10% damage boost and the Psycho for the 25% damage boost. Pull out your hunting rifle and shoot into the room behind the sentry bot so that he'll look that way, and then switch to your terrible shotgun. Now you have to be really quick here because you're sneaking so you move slower, but you have to quickly get up this ramp before he comes back out the door and sees you, and you have to jump across this little ledge by this broken door. Then you need to pop the door and wait for him to lose interest in what's going on and sneak behind him. And then at this point, I'm going to use VATS just to show that he is in fact at full health and use the terrible shotgun to one-shot him. This was the biggest challenge of the run so far, and I was actually very surprised that we were able to one-shot this thing. And then I want to go ahead and open my stats to show that we are actually level 8 here, because it's crazy that we were able to take that thing down at such a low level. Now head through the door to the National Guard depot and flip the switch. This is going to open the main door to the armory, but it's also going to release another sentry bot. And these things have crazy awareness, they must have like 10 perception or something. Now the best way that I found to do this was to wait till he comes out the door, and then when you see him start to go down the hallway, you just drop down behind him and let him go inside the room. And then you just wait until he comes back out the room. I'm going to use VATS just to show that he's full health. And then we can one-shot him with the terrible shotgun, just like we did the other one. Also note that these things give 50 XP. Now the only other enemies you need to worry about on this floor is this robot and turret in the next room. So take care of them and then you can head down into the armory. Now this room is loaded with awesome loot, so feel free to grab everything that you want, but the reason we're here is for the small guns bobblehead. This was all we needed to maximize our damage by hitting 100 with our small gun skill. So just grab that and then grab whatever loot that you can carry before leaving. So then you normally need to do an entire quest to open up this terminal, but there's a neat little trick you can do here where you go into third person mode by the door and you can actually activate the switch on the other side to open it. Then just kill the single ghoul on the other side and there's a bunch of awesome loot in here as well. There's a whole stack of mini nukes in here in the experimental MIRV, though we're not going to use explosives on this playthrough. Also, there's a skill book on the table, be sure to grab that before leaving. On my way back out of the National Guard Depot, apparently I missed this terminal earlier, so I grabbed it for some experience and it was just enough to level me up. So I dumped everything into the energy weapon skill and got it all the way up to level 85. So at this point we should be highly effective with energy weapons. And then for my level 9 perk, I found the best use to be an intense training, because there were no other real damage perks available. So I figured another point in perception would be great because not only does it boost our lockpick and energy weapons, but it gives us more of a heads up when there's an enemy ahead, so when we're running from point to point, we don't get surprised. Now I wanted to wrap up the mole rat part of Moira's questline, so I traveled back to Megaton and I one-shot the mole rats outside with the repellent stick. For the optional part of Moira's questline, we have to kill 7 mole rats total with it, so that just meant we needed to one-shot 3 of them outside of Megaton in order to finish the questline. So once I was done with that, I just went inside and told Moira that we were done with the mole rat part of the quest. And then I told her we were going to take on the final part of the chapter, which is the Mirelurk part of the quest line. This can be one of the hardest of her quests, or you can make it one of the easiest of her quests, and I'll show you how. After swimming across to the War Memorial, I decided to take the opportunity to kill these 2 centaurs for some free XP. And here's how you make this quest easy. Instead of going in the small main door, you want to go to the backside and use the service entrance. It's a very easy lockpick, so anybody should be able to do it. Then you just head inside and make your first right, and you'll see a Mirelurk spawning pod, and you can just put the observation device inside. Now when you come in, this will be to your right, but there is a Mirelurk to your left, so just sneak over to this, put the device inside, and then sneak back out. That's all you have to do, and you're done. Then just go back to Moira and tell her that you're done, and she'll give you 4 stealth boys as a reward. Now those are extremely strong items, but for this playthrough, I'm going to see if I can do everything without ever using a stealth boy. I'm sort of saving those as my get out of jail free card in case I get stuck somewhere. So just tell Moira that you're ready to start the last chapter and she'll ask you what you want to do first. I chose to do the technology part first because it seemed like the most XP killing a bunch of robots over at RobCo. So the next time you go near Super Duper Mart, Brian Wilkes is going to run up to you and he's going to start the quest called Those. So basically we just tell him we're going to help him and then we go over to the town and we start clearing it out of all the fire ants that are over there. And this is why we took the entomologist perk earlier, because it gives us 50% more damage against these fire ants. So we can clear pretty much the entire towns from just these 2 buildings that you see me in. Also note that these ants are giving 28 XP per ant, so we can rack up quite a bit of experience pretty quickly in this quest. So after clearing out all the ants on this side of town, we're just going to go into the Wilkes house. And inside there, you're going to find Brian Wilkes' father's body surrounded by 3 ant carcasses. And looking at the size of these things and seeing that he killed 3 of them with his bare hands just goes to show us that Brian's dad was an absolute unit. So go back outside, kill that last remaining fire ant, and then go talk to Brian. Tell Brian the bad news is that your father's dead, but the good news is that he went out like a champion in the Starship Trooper series. And then we need to proceed to clear the rest of the town of fire ants, which is pretty simple, especially as it's getting dark out. They don't seem to have great awareness, so you can sneak up pretty close to them and just quickly one-shot them. You don't need to kill all of them, you could just sneak past and go into the Marigold Station tunnels if you wanted to. But like we talked about, the experience here is something that's kind of invaluable because we're not going to be doing a lot of side quests, and we really want to hit as high of a level as possible, both for maxing out our skill points to do more damage, and to get more perks because we want to get all the way up to the better criticals perk. We'd really like to get to at least level 15 or 16 if possible. As you can see down in the Marigold Station tunnels, it's pretty much more of the same thing as the town. We're just sneaking up, one-shotting ants, and it's kind of repetitive. But on the other hand, it's also very easy. So we're just going to try to fight our way all the way down to Dr. Lesko because we need to find him to progress the quest a little bit further. And honestly, you could probably get away with either the sniper rifle or the shotgun here as well. And it might even be easier than using this weapon, because I notice sometimes I won't get the hidden bonus because they'll see the plasma laser coming, and that'll set off their awareness and change us over to caution. Now Dr. Lesko is going to ask us to go down to where the queen is, and we're going to tell him that we need some serious incentive. And we're doing that because we want him to give us his lab coat, because his lab coat gives plus 10 to science. And saving 10 skill points in a skill that's necessary for the build gives us 10 skill points to put into something else. So the task here for the quest is just to go into the hatchery and kill the 5 nest guardians. And Lesko does not want us to kill the queen. So the 5 guardians are actually in the little tunnel surrounding the main area where the queen's located. which makes it pretty easy to just sneak around and kill all of them without aggroing the queen at all. So then just head back and tell Dr. Lesko that you did what he asked, and he'll give you his lab coat and a bioenhancer. And this bioenhancer we can use to increase either strength by 1 or perception by 1. Now obviously we want to choose the ant sight for the perception, because with this sneak build playstyle, we need to know when enemies are ahead so that we can crouch and remain hidden. It makes it much easier to keep consistent with our sneak attacks and get that double damage bonus. So also I should mention that once you do the quest the way that he wants you to do it, where you leave the ant queen alive, you can follow him down and kill the ant queen with no negative effect and keep the lab coat. So you know that I've been planning to do that from the start. The first thing we want to do though is we want to hack his terminal, and once you're in the terminal you want to send the inhibitor pulse. This will kill all remaining ants up topside in the town. Then you want to destroy the mutagen sample, and this is going to give you some good karma. Now we want to grab the Nuka-Cola Quantum and the Big Book of Science off his desk, and then check out this method that I came up with to one-shot the ant queen after tons of testing. So you're going to crouch walk up to where he's at by the desk until the ant queen sees you a little bit but goes to caution. Then you're going to back out and around the corner until you're hidden and she loses interest to turn around and walk back. Use a Psycho for the 25% damage boost and the Yao Guai meat for the 10% damage boost. And then you need to hurry up and sneak back in because she'll be turned around walking back to her place. But if you wait too long, she'll go there and she'll turn around again and you'll get caution instead of a hidden, so you won't get that double damage bonus. But if you do it right, you can one-shot her. Now you can make this one-shot a lot easier on your playthrough. Just use a stealth boy and then you can just literally walk right up to her with the terrible shotgun and kill her that way. Either way you do it, we're done with this quest. We just need to head back up and talk to Brian Wilkes. I accidentally exited the tunnel at the false church where I saw some outcasts fighting some super mutants, so I just decided to lend a hand really quick and get some experience. I just waited till all their attention was on the outcasts and then I sniped them all with my reservist rifle. It wasn't that many, I think it was a total of 4 super mutants, so it was like 40 experience, but we'll take what we can get. So now I went back out the correct way and went over to talk to Brian. I told him I'd find him a place to live because we can actually do that in just a couple of minutes and it's the right thing to do. All you need to do is go to Rivet City, and when you get to Rivet City, go to the Weatherly Hotel and talk to Vera Weatherly. It turns out that Brian's her nephew, so you just tell her, oh, your nephew needs somewhere to live, his parents are dead, and she'll take him in. Then you just need to fast travel back to town, go into his house, and tell him that Vera Weatherly is willing to take him in. He will thank you, and that will end the quest those. So this quest net us a plus 10 science lab coat, 330 XP, and plus 1 to perception permanently. So now head back to the power station and one-shot that Yao Guai one more time. Apparently he respawns, so that's just infinite Yao Guai meat, I guess. Then I one-shot a rad scorpion that was up ahead in my way, and I finally reached the RobCo factory so I could continue Moira's questline. So RobCo's pretty straightforward actually. It's mostly just mole rats and rad roaches. So I just ran around killing the rad roaches with the silenced 10mm pistol and killing the mole rats with the A321 plasma rifle. Now there's a ton of rad roaches and mole rats in this place, but unfortunately they don't give a lot of XP. I was getting 2 XP per rad roach and 6 XP per mole rat. I did eventually find that my small gun skill was high enough to where I was able to one-shot the mole rats with headshots with the 10mm pistol as well. So that was really convenient because it saved me from having to switch weapons every time that I went to kill one of those instead of a rad roach. And then eventually I killed so many of these mole rats and rad roaches that I actually leveled up off of them. So I pushed lockpick up to 25 so I don't have to switch uniforms for easy locks, energy weapons all the way up to 90 so I can get 100 when I get the bobblehead, and then I pushed repair up to 49. Repair is the skill that I want to get to 100 next because then I can repair weapons all the way to 100% condition. There wasn't a great option for perks at level 10, so I just picked finesse for a higher critical chance in combat. And then I just continued on my quest of destruction with mole rats, rad roaches, over and over and over again. Which shows that you can actually do this quest a lot earlier, very easily, because there's not a lot of dangerous enemies here. Even the robots later on, I can show you how we can make that easy as well. Be careful not to miss this skill book on your way up though, and then just continue along killing mole rats and rad roaches all the way until you reach the mainframe. I guess while we're doing the tedious work of playing RobCo Exterminator, I can explain a little bit more about why we want to push the repair skill so high. There's actually places in the game to farm combat shotguns to repair our terrible shotgun, hunting rifles to repair our Lincoln's repeater, and sniper rifles to repair our reservist rifle. So if we have a really high repair skill, we can actually repair weapons much higher than any of the vendors can repair them. With 100% in the repair skill, we can actually repair them all the way up to perfect condition. This allows them to do 100% of their maximum damage. Also, before I forget, don't forget to pick up the skill book on this floor and the couple of stealth boys. Now because I said I would, I'm going to continue to finish this playthrough without using one if possible. But on any other playthrough, you should definitely be using stealth boys. They're one of the strongest items in the game. It makes you completely invisible to enemies. So now that we've cleared everything out in here and we're at the mainframe, go ahead and install the processor widget that Moira asked you to. And then our science skill is actually high enough to where we can hack this average terminal for the mainframe. And then you can choose the option Cease Total Liquidation. And what this does is all of the robots that would be hostile on your way out are now completely neutral to you. So it's kind of like having the Ghoul mask but for robots. This makes leaving here so much easier because now all the robots on the way out that would be hostile are completely indifferent to you, but you can still just creep up behind them and one-shot them. I guess what was most surprising to me was that they only gave 5 experience each. I mean, they're not particularly difficult enemies even if they were hostile. It just seemed to me that they would be more of like a 10 or 25 experience enemy. There's also going to be several turrets on the way out, so you want to take them out because they'll ruin your hidden bonus and you'll just be detected instead. So basically all we're doing here is we're just killing all the enemies on our way back downstairs and out of the building. Again, it's extremely easy, it's just a little tedious. You can feel free to run past all of these enemies because like I said, none of them are going to be aggressive towards you. But because of the nature of this challenge run, I wanted to get as high as possible because I don't really know what to expect in the later parts of the main story. So when I'm doing these quests, I'm making sure to kill any enemy that I have access to so that I can get as much experience as possible. Because I want to get my skills as high as possible and I want to get to some of those mid-level perks. So after clearing everything around the front door, be sure to grab the stealth boy on the desk on your way out and the skill book. Then head back to Moira and tell her that you're done with the RobCo quest. And then next I took the local history quest because it's pretty easy. All you have to do is make a run over to Rivet City really quick. Since you have the fast travel checkpoint to Rivet City, just head back there and then go into the main marketplace. So just do a quick save right before speaking to Bannon and then pass his speech check, and that'll get you on the road to getting that optional part of the quest. Then just head to the bar and do the same thing with a quick save before talking to Belle Bonnie and pass her speech check. And she's going to point you in the right direction for the last person we need to talk to for this optional part of the quest. And you'll remember Pinkerton from earlier as he was part of another quest. He's up in the bow of the ship. So go talk to Pinkerton, he'll tell you the rest of the real history of Rivet City. And that's all you have to do for this quest. Once he tells you everything, you'll have the optional part of the quest done and you can go back to Moira and turn it in. So now it's time to turn in, go back to Megaton and tell Moira that you found the true history of Rivet City. That'll end that quest and she'll send you to the library. She'll tell you that the library is over in Old Arlington near downtown. So now all you have to do is make your way over to the Arlington Library. Be careful because there's a Merc camp just nearby. And when you head inside, you're actually going to be greeted by the Brotherhood of Steel. Now they're friendly, they're just here looking for other stuff and they're willing to work with you. This is both a blessing and a curse and you'll see why in a second. So just go to the check-in terminal right by the door and access the card catalog. And if you're not trying to do the optional part of Moira Brown's questline, this is all you need to do. You could then leave and go back to her. Don't forget to grab the big book of science on the desk nearby and then we're going to proceed in a little bit and do the optional part of the quest. The downside of being friendly with the Brotherhood of Steel here is they're going to try to steal all of your kills here. So you have to be really quick here and you have to hit all of your shots. If you miss your shots, I promise you that they will steal those kills before you can reload and get another shot off. And this is going to be the case for most of the library. You're going to have to hit your shots really quickly because they're going to otherwise take all of your kills. You can actually take out one of these raiders at the end of the hallway through this broken part of the door here. And then just sneak up and hit the other one through the other side of the broken door. Then I went ahead and cleared out all these rad roaches in the offices, even though they only give 1 XP. For some reason, the Brotherhood of Steel actually weren't with me on this, so I had free reign to kill them on my time. Then I went to the library media archive upstairs, and the Brotherhood of Steel were already up here, so I had to be really quick to get these kills before they stole them. Then you have to be careful in here as well, because there were a bunch of frag mines on the floor. And then apparently if I sneak, then it makes the Brotherhood sneak, so they won't run up and steal my kills. So I took out the 2 turrets through the door, and then I snuck up to the door and took out the 2 raiders inside, so the Brotherhood of Steel couldn't. Then as usual, even though I destroyed the turrets, I hacked the control terminal so that I could get a little bit of extra XP. And then I moved on to the next area, and the Brotherhood of Steel actually didn't follow me. So the last room in the library was actually really tricky. I had to sneak into the dark corner, stand up and crouch back down to get caution so this guy would run out of the room. Then I was able to take out the other 2 raiders in the room while he was outside. And then I was able to take him out as he was coming back in. Then I hacked the terminal next to the safe for a little bit of extra XP. And even though I'm not showing it, obviously you want to loot everything that you can carry to sell or stash at home. Bottle caps haven't been an issue so far, but you always want to stay topped off. Also be sure not to miss the skill book on the desk over here. Then we want to access the Arlington Public Library terminal. And you want to click Transfer Library Archives. This will transfer everything to a local device and it'll finish the optional part of Moira's questline. So now you can just leave the library, but on my way out I found that I had missed a turret, so I had to snatch that 10 XP really quick before I left. Now just head back to Moira and tell her that you're done with the library. This will completely finish Moira's questline for the Wasteland Survival Guide. You'll get a new perk called Survival that will increase your survival skills. You'll get good karma, but then you only get 100 XP, which is kind of weird because that's a really long quest for 100 XP. I mean, I'm not going to complain, XP is XP, but that was just a lot to do for 100 XP. Now I went back to the library and I started to clear out that Merc camp nearby. Mostly because I saw someone with a sniper up top and snipers are so rare that I wanted to kill him so that I could repair my reservist rifle with his sniper rifle. The camp seemed relatively small, there were only a couple people and then a turret. But then just to play it safe, I waited till night to go back in because I kept getting cautioned when I went in, and then I realized it's because there's a freaking sentry bot sitting in the middle of the camp. Since I can only one-shot it with a shotgun, I had to get close, so I found this sneaky little trick to go up behind him and jump across. And I barely made the jump across and I thought for sure he'd hear me, but I guess because I was crouched he didn't. Then I'm just going to use VATS to show that he's full health and we're going to one-shot him with the terrible shotgun again. It's just so satisfying to one-shot sentry bots. I mean, the 55 XP is really nice, but it's just satisfying because they're the toughest enemy in Fallout 3, and knowing that we overcame that hurdle is just a good feeling. I also leveled up off that sentry bot, so I got repair all the way to 70 and I pushed science to 68. Then without a great alternative, I used my level 11 perk on intense training, and then I put the point into endurance because I need to get to 5 endurance so that I can get the strong back perk later. That perk's super convenient, it lets you carry 50 more pounds of weight. So this gets us to 4 endurance, and then with the bobblehead we'll have 5 so that we can get the strong back perk later. Now I waited till daytime so you could see what was going on, and then I grabbed the skill book and the stealth boy off the table right by the sniper. Then I looted his body of the sniper rifle and some 308 rounds, and this allowed me to significantly improve the condition of my reservist rifle. And now I set out to one of the most iconic locations in Fallout 3, the Deathclaw Sanctuary. I figured we'd head in here and grab the endurance bobblehead since we just talked about it. And I also really wanted to see if I could one-shot Deathclaws with the terrible shotgun. And it turns out we can easily one-shot Deathclaws with the terrible shotgun. We don't even need Psycho or Yao Guai meat. And it was actually extremely easy to clear this place out with this much sneak. Like right here, when I saw this Deathclaw coming, I just hid in the food pile and then I completely destroyed him and he never saw it coming. With our sneak at 100, we can literally just walk right up to Deathclaws with the terrible shotgun and one-shot them. Now obviously a big factor to why we can do that is because how dark it is in here. If it was outside in the sunlight, they would clearly see us and that would never work. But it worked out really well in here, and we could always wait till nighttime if we were up top. So then I looted the Nuka-Cola Quantum, the mini nuke, the skill book, and then finally the bobblehead for endurance. We also got a good chunk of XP in here, which will help a lot. When I left, there happened to be a Deathclaw outside to illustrate my point of how easy it is to sneak up to them outside as well if it's nighttime. After completing the Deathclaw Sanctuary, I was pretty confident that I could easily continue the main quest line. So I grabbed the Lincoln's repeater and I headed to the Jefferson Memorial and started taking out super mutants. I could have used a reservist rifle here, but I hadn't used the Lincoln's repeater yet and I really wanted to put it to use. As you can see, the damage is fantastic and it's extremely accurate. It has a weapon spread of 0, meaning it's 100% accurate to where you're aiming. With the outside clear, I headed into the museum and gift shop and started killing the super mutants in there. I started off with the super mutant brute in the corner, and then I needed to kill the turret before the super mutants did. I had to be quick to get both the turret and the super mutant in here because otherwise they would have killed each other. Then I stopped and hacked the terminal for that turret for a quick 44 XP. And then it was back to the business of killing super mutants, and business was good. Honestly, with how easily we're killing the super mutants in here, a lot of my concerns are starting to diminish. The only thing that I'm really concerned about at this point is the Enclave. I know that at one point I'm going to have to fight basically the entire Enclave, and I know that they're all going to be wearing power armor. I'm also a little concerned for when we finally come across a super mutant overlord, as he's going to have a lot more HP than these super mutants. So for the quest, we need to pick up the Project Purity Personal Journal Entry 10, and we need to listen to it. In that journal entry, he's going to tell us that we need to head to Smith Casey's garage. So it's a good thing that earlier when we passed it, we made a point to go and grab that fast travel point so that we can just teleport straight there. Anything we can do to avoid running across the wasteland more. Now when you head inside, there's a rad roach and then there's going to be a couple mole rats in the room to the right. So grab the Nuka-Cola Quantum and then sneak attack the 2 mole rats inside. Then there's going to be 2 more mole rats downstairs that you need to sneak attack. The second one's kind of a pain without aggroing, but you can just barely clip the top of his head. Now open the door to Vault 112 and head inside. There's no enemies in here, so all you need to do is grab the suit and jump into the simulation. Now there's basically a way to skip the entire simulation. And it's not a glitch or anything, you just go into the abandoned house in the simulation and activate the failsafe in this order. So just activate the broken ham radio, and then activate the glass pitcher. Activate the garden gnome, and then the glass pitcher again, and then the cinder block, and then the garden gnome again, and then the empty bottle. This will open the auxiliary command terminal, and this basically allows you to shut down the simulation. So all you need to do is initiate the Chinese invasion failsafe, and then you can go outside and there will be a door allowing you to exit the simulation and be reunited with your dad. When you come outside, there will be a bunch of soldiers, but they will not shoot you, so don't worry about that. So just activate the exit door, the simulation will end, your pod will open up, and you'll notice that the pod next to you is opening up, and that's the one that had your dad in there trapped. He's gonna thank you and let you know that he needs to head to Rivet City to progress the main quest and ask you to go there as well. Just agree with him and tell him you're going to go to Rivet City as well. You get 600 experience for finishing the Tranquility Lane quest, which in my case was enough to push me all the way up to level 12. I pushed Science to the 75 breakpoint, which will let us hack hard terminals. And then I pushed Repair all the way to 86, so we're getting a little bit closer to maxing out Repair. Then I made a controversial move and I chose the Here and Now perk, which automatically moves you up to the next level. Now in a normal playthrough, you'd probably never take this, but since I'm after skill points and levels as fast as possible, this was the best choice at this level. This lets me take Repair all the way to 90, so if I get the bobblehead, I have perfect Repair, and then it lets me take Lockpick all the way to 48. For our level 13 perk, we're going to take Silent Running, which is one of the strongest perks in the game. With this perk, running no longer factors into our sneak attempts. Now when I went outside, there were 2 giant rad scorpions just waiting to give me 25 XP each. And then on my way to Vault 106, there was a Yao Guai outside that apparently ate a bunch of wasteland settlers, so I took that out as well. Then I head into Vault 106. Now this vault is full of insane survivors. Apparently they pumped this vault full of psychosis-inducing drugs. Now it's a good thing we took Science to 75, because when we get inside, there's immediately a hard security terminal. So this terminal is kind of weird. It does give us a free 50 XP, but then it doesn't do anything else except for kind of give you a heads up as to what's going on in the vault. Moving forward, I started to clear the vault of these insane survivors. With as much sneak as I have, this really wasn't too much of an issue. The key to this playthrough has been just basically patience and waiting for the right time to strike. Then apparently whatever they were pumping into the air supply in there was starting to affect me as well. And then this was a pretty cool double kill. I really have no idea how the second guy wasn't alerted when I dropped the dude right next to him. When you get in the classroom, there's 3 boxes. If you move the top 2, there's a skill book in the bottom box. Then I just progressed forward and took out another insane survivor, and I finally made it to the bobblehead, which is the only reason that we came to this vault in the first place. At this point, I was kind of playing cleanup on the bobbleheads that I needed to perfect my build before finishing the main storyline. When I came outside, there was actually a raider camp right there, so I went ahead and cleared that out for some free XP with the reservist rifle. It also gave me another fast travel point in Kaylin's bed and breakfast. And heading inside there actually gave me a pretty good vantage point to take out the rest of the raiders on and underneath the bridge up ahead. I feel like for this playthrough, I made the right choice in going small guns first because the sniper rifle with the scope makes life so much easier for these sneak attacks. Although I will say it's not as easy as it looks to hit these headshots all the time. So then I made the short trip over to Arifu. There's a quest that you can do here. We're not going to do all of that. We're just going to come in here, make introductions, grab something real quick and leave. Make sure no one's looking, and then you want to lockpick the door to Evan King's house. This is just an average lock, so we have the 50 lockpick that we need. When you get inside, immediately on your left on the table is the repair bobblehead. So now with the 100 repair, we can increase the condition of our weapons to 100 when we repair them. This is also a great way to make extra caps if you're playing through normally, just repairing weapons and selling them. So now head to Rivet City and talk to your dad, and he's going to ask you to go to the Jefferson Memorial, just agree, and then meet him over there. Once you're there, he's going to ask you to go in and clear it out. Since you already cleared the main level, basically he's asking you to clear the basement tunnels out. So just head through the area that you cleared out and go down to the basement, and it should just be a couple of super mutants down there. There's a couple centaurs as well, but you should be able to sneak attack everything down here pretty easily with 100 sneak. I think the crazy part down here is that you're only getting 25 XP for the brutes and 10 XP for the regular super mutants. Anyway, there's nothing really difficult about this. You just need to take your time and sneak attack everything, and you should have no problem one-shotting everything down here. There's also not all that many enemies. So then just head back outside and let them know that you cleared out the entire basement, that everything's safe and they can come on in. Once everybody gets inside, they're going to ask you to go back down to the basement and handle some flooding that happened down there. This is kind of annoying because you're just going to go right back down to where you just were and hit the flood control power switch. And then he's going to tell you to come all the way back to him because he wants to give you some fuses that he probably should have just given you in the first place, because you're never going to guess where the fuse box is. It's right back where you just were yet again. So then we head back to the basement and we get it rubbed in our face with a sign that we're obviously just going right back again to the same exact place. And then we're going to activate the mainframe power switch, at which point your dad's going to come over the intercom and ask you to come over there and talk to him. So then in the middle of telling you to come back yet again to where he's at, he stops himself and tells you, no, actually I need you to go and clear a blockage in one of the intake pipes. So head back to the main floor and then go to the pump control and start making your way through the pipe. At which point you're going to see the Enclave arrive, so you need to start fighting your way back through them to your dad. I found that the A321 plasma rifle worked really well for the Enclave soldiers wearing power armor. So head back into the room where your dad is and you can see how crazy some of the Enclave are. At this point your dad's going to make the sacrifice play and kill everybody in that room with him by flooding it with a ton of radiation. He's going to tell you to run, which was actually a crazy ballsy play, but ultimately really unnecessary because we could have just destroyed everybody in that room and saved him. But that's the way the game's written. So then Dr. Lee's going to tell you that she knows of a secret tunnel that you can escape out of, so follow her. She's going to take you down to the Taft tunnels and they're going to ask you to lead them out of there. So tell this gaggle of scientists to follow you and start making your way through the tunnel. There's not immediately any real threats, but I took out these 2 Enclave iBots just to play it safe. Then I came across 2 Enclave soldiers in power armor, but I was able to sneak attack both of them. Then I progressed to the part of the tunnels where there were ghouls, and I had the ghoul mask on, but these guys didn't, so they were still aggroing them. So I had to try to play it a little bit slower and kill them from a distance so that the group with me wouldn't aggro them. And then I came to this point with 2 more Enclave soldiers. This was actually kind of a pain because the second one kept aggroing, so I had to barely get the top of his head. And then it was more just crouch walking so that the ghouls wouldn't get aggroed by the group of people behind me. So ultimately pretty easy. I think we only came across 4 Enclave soldiers and then the rest were just ghouls that weren't really a threat as long as I kept everybody back behind me. Don't forget to grab this Nuka-Cola Quantum and the skill book on this picnic table before heading out towards the end of the tunnel. Then just open the door to where you'll see a friendly Brotherhood of Steel. Lead everybody up past the Brotherhood of Steel and use the command to tell them to wait in place for you for a couple seconds. And then while they're somewhere safe, we can run back and clear out this little section of ghouls for a little bit of extra XP. But just be careful killing the ones on the stairs because there's a gas leak up above them, so you can't shoot a weapon over there or it'll start a fire. Now head back and link up with the party and take the ladder up to the Capital Wasteland. You're going to pop up right in front of the entrance to the Citadel, so you're completely safe from this point on. Just wait a second and Dr. Lee will get you guys all entrance into the Citadel. Then you want to talk to Paladin Gunny and he'll train you on power armor. We're probably not going to use it on this run, but you might as well do it. Power armor is the strongest armor in Fallout 3. Now head inside and talk to Scribe Rothschild and ask him about where you can find a Gek, and he's going to tell you he doesn't know, but you can access their computer. Head to the computer and look at the DC area vault listings, and then Vault 87, and then equipment issuances. This will update your quest because this is the location of the Gek, so then you could just go back to Scribe Rothschild and ask him where Vault 87 is located. He's going to show you on the map where the vault is, but he's going to tell you the entrance is flooded with radiation, and you need to go through the Lamplight Caverns in order to access it. The closest map marker I had was the Yao Guai tunnel, so I went there and started heading north. And big surprise, there was a Yao Guai at the entrance that I had to take care of, and then a robot just north of there. Then I came across this random pair of super mutants that were just kind of hanging out for some reason. And then heading north, I actually came across yet another pair of Yao Guai. But honestly, they both give Yao Guai meat and they give 28 experience each, so it's not a bad thing. Then I finally made it to Lamplight Caverns and head inside. Mayor McCready did not want to let me in, so I agreed to help Sammy and the other kids that were kidnapped by slavers in order to gain entrance. Then when I went outside, I came across another pair of Yao Guai, which maybe was the same pair that just respawned, I don't know. Then I came across another robot next to a little irradiated pond, and then a rad scorpion. So quite a bit of wildlife kills on my way to Paradise Falls. Now when we get to Paradise Falls, we're going to have to agree to do some questionable stuff, or it seems questionable, but it won't be at the end, you'll see. On my way out of there, I saw this slave running away from a raider, so I gave her a hand. And then I even had a high enough science skill to help her out and get the slave collar off of her. And karma was instant because that was enough to level me. At this point I dumped all my skill points into lockpick and pushed it all the way to 71. And then for my level 14 perk, I took Sniper, which significantly increases your chance to hit an opponent's head in VATS. And then I turned around and saw that thanks to this slaver that all the work I just did was basically for nothing. But I continued on my journey and I went to Rivet City and I picked Flack and Shrapnel's door to sneak into the room. I made sure nobody was looking, and then I head inside, and then I need to wait for a little bit until Flack comes in and goes to sleep. And then since security was right outside, I played it safe and closed the door. And then I know it seems pretty messed up to make Flack a slave, but apparently he used to be a slaver, and we're gonna free him again later anyways. So tell him to go to Paradise Falls because we need to do this in order to gain access to Paradise Falls to progress the main story. So then head back to Paradise Falls. We're gonna be rewarded with 75 XP and 250 caps. But most importantly, we're going to be rewarded with access to Paradise Falls. Now when you get into Paradise Falls, the very first thing you want to do so you don't forget is to go to Eulogy's pad, and you want to pick up the speech bobblehead off the desk in there so you don't forget to do it later on. Then the kids are going to send you back in here to hack the terminal, which is just an average terminal, so 50 science skill required. And then you just need to click update network connections and that'll progress the quest. But before you leave Eulogy's pad, there is a stash of 5 Nuka-Cola Quantums under the stairs that I would go grab. So then just head back to the kids, tell them that they're all good, and then you just need to kill all the slavers so that they can escape. But first you want to go and pickpocket Eulogy Jones and grab the Paradise Falls box key, and this allows you to save everybody and get good karma. Then we're just going to the balcony on the 2nd floor of Eulogy's pad and we're going to start taking out all the slavers. I used a combination of the sniper rifle and the Lincoln's repeater. There's actually quite a few slavers in here and they each give 30 XP, so you should be able to get quite a bit of XP before leaving. I also highly recommend doing this at nighttime because it's going to be a lot easier to sneak around and take everybody out, because there's no way that you're getting this close during daytime without being seen. So the way I did it was I just cleared out everybody inside Paradise Falls, then I went outside and took care of Grouse. He got the special treatment with the super sledge because he's a huge dirtbag, and then I also took care of the slaver right next to him at the front gate as well. Then it was time to go back into Eulogy's pad and take care of the King of A-Holes. He actually got the VATS treatment with the Lincoln repeater. And it's always funny after you one-shot someone to gain karma rather than lose it. But I guess it also makes sense because he's the head of a slaver ring. So then from here we're just going to take out Clover and then we're going to go take out 40, and I don't know what he was doing in this corner over here, but he's dead now. And then somehow a slaver snuck up onto the balcony that I was originally on. And then for some reason there was a slaver in the shop even though it was nighttime, and then there was one downstairs in the bed sleeping. Then the last 2 slavers were the 2 in the barracks quarter, so I took them out and then I was good to go. Then, just like I said, to make do on my karma, I went back over to the slave pens and made sure that Flack was free, as well as all the kids and all the other slaves. Now just head outside and talk to the kids, they'll thank you and head back to Lamplight Caverns and you'll be rewarded with 900 XP. And this pushes us dangerously close to being level 15. Now from here I just went to Big Town to ask them where the captives were being held by the super mutants, and they pointed me towards the Germantown Police HQ. So I went to the Germantown Police HQ and started taking out super mutants. I found it's pretty important to always do these quests at nighttime because then it's pretty easy to sneak around and one-shot things, but it always surprises me when I get into these spots where there's 2 enemies right next to each other and I don't alert the second one when I shoot the first one. I disarmed this trap for a free combat shotgun to repair my terrible shotgun, and then I picked this safe for some XP. And then after looting the safe, I went to the nearby terminal and I hacked that for some extra XP, even though all it did was disengage the lock for the safe that I just picked. I grabbed the skill book on the table before heading downstairs to the main floor. After heading downstairs, I took out a rad roach and then I grabbed the skill book in the classroom. I took out a super mutant and then a bunch more rad roaches. Honestly, at this point in the game, the rad roaches are more annoying than anything because they only give 1 XP and they just seem to be everywhere. So while clearing all the rad roaches off the floor, we made our way over to the cells and we found our first super mutant overlord of the playthrough. So to one-shot it, we used a Yao Guai meat for 10% more damage and a Psycho for 25% more damage. Then I equipped the terrible shotgun because it's the strongest weapon in the game. And I snuck my way up to the super mutant overlord. I used VATS to show that he was full HP, and as you can see, VATS says that the shotgun's not going to do very much damage, and this just goes to show how much we've scaled our damage versus what VATS says that shotgun should do. We easily one-shot the super mutant overlord, and then we celebrated Call of Duty style before getting back to the rescue mission. So we went to the terminal and we hit the emergency cell release to release Red from her prison cell, and since she was about to be eaten by super mutants, she was obviously super thankful. But then she told us that there's another prisoner downstairs to rescue, so we head down to the basement, one-shot the super mutant, and then rescue Shorty so we can all get out of here with Red. But before leaving the basement, make sure that you grab the Nuka-Cola Quantum off the floor in the closet. Then just lead Shorty and Red back to Big Town. Talk to Red when you get back to Big Town and she'll actually give you a reward of 300 bottle caps. Then we're going to offer to stick around and help with the super mutants. You can actually teach the entire town how to sneak if your sneak skill's high enough like ours is. So wait for Red to round everybody up and then just show them how to sneak really quick by crouching and walking around. And then at this point I actually leveled up. So I just pushed science to 90 so that we could get 100 with Lesko's lab coat. And I put the rest in a lockpick and got it all the way up to 89. And then for my level 15 perk, we took strong back, and this is why we needed to get endurance to 5. So it increases our maximum carry weight by 50 pounds. Now to wrap up here, all you need to do is wait until sundown. At this point, the super mutants will show up and you can easily just snipe both of them from a distance at the entrance to the town. Red will thank you, and you're now done with Big Town. Heading back to Lamplight Caverns, Mayor McCready will now let you in since you saved the kids from the slavers. Then just ask Joseph to turn the computer back on so that you can access the vault through the main door. You can either get in this way or through Murder Pass, but this way is a little bit faster and we have the science skill for it. So just hack the terminal, it's only average, so all you need is 50 science skill and we're at 100 with the Lesko's lab coat. Then just unlock the door and head inside. When you get inside, there's going to be a pack of rad roaches when you first get in the door. So just take them out really quick with the silenced 10mm and then move on. We shouldn't have much problem navigating through this vault because there's a lot of dark areas where we can hit our sneak attacks on the super mutants. I ended up using the Lincoln's repeater for most of it because I hadn't got much use out of it this playthrough and it's one of my favorite weapons. So I just kind of switched back and forth from the Lincoln's repeater on range kills and the terrible shotgun up close. Honestly, I really thought I needed to use the terrible shotgun to kill the super mutant masters at first because of how much health they had. I didn't think that the Lincoln's repeater would be enough even with a headshot. But then after testing on the super mutant master in the hallway, I realized that the Lincoln's repeater would one-shot them with the headshot as long as it was a sneak attack. So from there on, I pretty much exclusively used the Lincoln's repeater everywhere that I could, because it's probably the most fun weapon to use in the game, and I really didn't get as much use out of it as I thought I was going to get. I should mention that these two enemies behind these desks were actually kind of a pain because they were looking towards me, and so if you just stand up and then crouch back down on the stairwell right before getting to them, they'll go into the caution state and for whatever reason they turn around and give you their back. So hacking this terminal got me to level 16. There wasn't anywhere that I really needed the skill point, so I put them into big guns in case I wanted to try one of those out later. And then for my level 16 perk, I did better criticals for that 50% damage bonus every time that we crit. This is why I wanted to get to at least level 16, and this will be a huge damage bonus for us for the rest of the game. So no, at this point I just kept progressing through the vault, and it was pretty repetitive of just sneak attacking super mutants the entire time. Nothing here really gave me trouble because our damage was high enough, and we had so many dark areas to utilize our high sneak skill. So then I got to the point where I met Fox, and I told him that I'd rescue him to just hold on a second. I hacked the terminal right outside his room, which gave me a little bit of XP, but it does not allow you to release him. He tells you in order to release him, you need to go hit the fire alarm. There's actually another way. Just head over to that room as if you were going to set off the fire alarm, and then you want to take out the two super mutants inside. This is really straightforward since killing one of them does not alert the other one. Then when you get inside, there's an average terminal that you can hack. I got really lucky and hacked it on my first guess. Then you can just release only Fox's door, which is the ISO room 5 door emergency release. And then go back and talk to Fox and he'll offer to get the Gek for you. Now, if you talk to him and say that you want to trade equipment, you can actually get the Fox Super Sledge. Now, similar to earlier with the Brotherhood of Steel, it's kind of a pain. We have to kill everything really fast before Fox goes and engages it. So we just want to stay a little bit ahead of him the entire time. And then we can sneak attack the rest of the super mutants before he gets up to them. You can also hack this terminal here to get access to the storage room. And there's an advanced radiation suit in there, but we don't need that because we're just going to use Fox to go and get the Gek. So then we're just going to progress and try to sneak attack all the super mutants before Fox catches up to us. And this was pretty simple because for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because I was crouch walking, but Fox wasn't moving that fast. So then when you get there, Fox will tell you that the radiation doesn't affect him and he'll offer to go in and get the Gek for you. He'll come back out within a few seconds and he'll give you the Gek and tell you that it's time for the two of you to part ways. So then just start to exit the vault and you're going to get hit with a flashbang by the Enclave. And they're going to kidnap you, steal the Gek, and then take you back to their base, which is called Raven Rock. You'll see a cutscene of Colonel Autumn walking in with a couple Enclave soldiers, and then you're going to pass out and wake up over at Raven Rock with none of your gear. And you'll be in the middle of an interrogation with Colonel Autumn. But then the president's going to interrupt that and come through the speaker and tell you that he wants to meet you. So he's going to tell you that you're free to grab your stuff out of the locker and then start heading towards his office to meet him face to face. So we're just going to head to the locker, we're going to select take all to get all of our stuff back, and then we're going to head out the door and start making our way towards him. If you pass a speech check, you'll get a little bit of a head start, but then Colonel Autumn's going to come through the speaker, and he's going to tell everybody to shoot you on sight. So at this point, everybody's going to go from being neutral to being aggressive towards you. So I like to try to make it to the back of the cafeteria for when that happens. We can ambush the first soldier right outside and then shoot a bullet across the room, and then ambush the second soldier when he goes to check out what it was. Then we're just going to make our way down the hall taking care of Enclave soldiers as we see them with sneak attacks. The A321 plasma rifle is incredibly strong in here. You should have no problem one-shotting any of the Enclave soldiers or scientists in Raven Rock with it. Also remember that we're really effective with this because we pushed our energy weapons all the way up to 100 as well. There's also something about plasma rounds that make them highly effective against enemies in power armor. But anyways, when you finish clearing the lab, be sure to hack this terminal for a little bit of extra experience. It'll deactivate a barrier and let you loot a couple boxes. Then you're going to progress to Colonel Autumn's room and you're going to hack the terminal in there as well. This will also disable a barrier, giving you a little bit of loot, but we're not really after that. In his room, the main thing that we're after is the bobblehead on his desk. And this is the energy weapons bobblehead. It sucks that it's so far into the game because this is something that'd be really cool to get early on. So when leaving Colonel Autumn's room, this was actually a little bit tricky to try to take out both of these soldiers that were stacked right on top of each other without alerting one of them when you killed the first one. I actually had to switch back to the reservist rifle for that. So then you head into the control room and you have a mini heart attack because there's 2 sentry bots and 2 Enclave soldiers. But then it turns out that the sentry bots are actually friendly because the president is controlling them to try to help you get to him. So now you finally get to meet President Eden and you find out that he's a robot. And since we have such a high science skill, we can convince him that he needs to shut himself down and self-destruct the entirety of Raven Rock. So he'll agree and he'll tell you to leave because he's about to destroy the entire facility. On the way out, try to get as many one-shots as you can in the kill race between you and a bunch of laser turrets. And then also whatever's in that room, destroying everything with fire. If you're quick, you can actually beat the sentry bots to these kills by the final door. And the door shut before I could kill the 3rd soldier, but I actually leveled up off the first 2. And then once again, I just dumped all my skill points into big guns and pushed it all the way to 67 because there was nowhere else I really needed skill points. And then for lack of a better perk as well, I went with Gunslinger, which just increases our accuracy with VATS with pistols or similar one-handed weapons. Then the final Enclave soldier opened that door again so we could get the last one shot and we made our way out of Raven Rock. Now as we head outside, we see a bunch of vertibirds taking off and then we hear Fox going absolutely ham with the Gatling laser. So we can link back up with Fox and he'll offer to become a permanent follower, which you can accept and then just go to your house in Megaton and have him permanently stay there. Then we can watch the destruction of Raven Rock before heading back to the Citadel to begin the final quest in Fallout 3. Just go tell Elder Lyons that the Enclave took the Gek. He's gonna greenlight the storming of the Jefferson building with Liberty Prime. Somewhere in the wasteland, OSHA is absolutely losing their mind. And a certain crane operator in the Brotherhood of Steel is heading for the unemployment line. Eventually they're going to figure things out, Liberty Prime will be out on the street, and we can progress towards hopefully finishing this challenge run. So follow along and try to get as many one-shots as you can in. I'm going to be honest though, it's a little bit tough to have a kill race with what seems to be the offspring of the Autobots version of Tom Brady and Homelander. This thing shoots laser beams out its eyes that can one-shot helicopters, and then it chucks nukes like it's throwing a slant route. Honestly, trying to steal kills from this thing is a lost cause, so just follow it to the door and head inside the Jefferson Museum. Once we get inside, things are a little bit more our speed, so we can hopefully get a couple more one-shots in. So just make your way down the hall, and then you should be able to one-shot all 3 of the Enclave soldiers in the first room without even having to reload. Then with impeccable timing, the 4th Enclave soldier is going to give you time to reload and then pop his head out just as you finish reloading to let you one-shot him. Then we can just loop around to the left and take out the final Enclave soldier walking down the hall, and we're almost home free. If you go through the first door to the rotunda, you're immediately forced into the final cutscene with Colonel Autumn, so you can't one-shot him. But coming through this door, you're not forced into that cutscene. Unfortunately though, there seems to be an invisible barrier preventing a one-shot here, and we can't stand up because then we won't be hidden. So there's only one solution here. We need to reload the area, we need to stay crouched, and while crouched, we need to jump up and quickscope a headshot as we're falling back down. It felt so good to finally hit that shot because that means that it's possible to one-shot Fallout 3. Now we just need to take out the 2 Enclave soldiers that he was with and we're home free. So all the planning and preparation that I actually put into the build turned out to make this way easier than I thought it was going to be. Oh, and if you're still watching, then that means you've enjoyed this run so far, and you've probably picked up more Fallout 3 knowledge than you ever thought possible. And if you want to see more of our challenge runs, then hit subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we upload a new video. I'm sorry for the length of this one. This was actually a 48-hour playthrough that we somehow condensed into 90 minutes. So for those of you that are still watching, I definitely appreciate you sticking it out. We have an absolutely incredible Elden Ring video coming out in the next week or 2 that I'm really excited about. So we'll see you guys on that one. Until then, stay dangerous.
And so it was that the lone wanderer ventured forth from Vault 101, intent on discovering the fate of a father who had once sacrificed the future of humanity for that of his only child. The capital wasteland proved a cruel, inhospitable place, but the lone wanderer refused to surrender to the vices that had claimed so many others. The values passed on from father to child, selflessness, compassion, honor, guided this noble soul through countless trials and triumphs. But it was not until the end of this long road that the lone wanderer learned the true meaning of that greatest of virtues, sacrifice. Stepping into the irradiated control chamber of Project Purity, the child followed the example of the father, sacrificing life itself for the greater good of mankind. Thankfully, when selected by the sinister president to be his instrument of annihilation, the Wanderer refused. Humanity, with all its flaws, was deemed worthy of preservation. The waters of life flowed at last, free and pure for any and all. The capital wasteland, at long last, was saved. So ends the story of the Lone Wanderer, who stepped through the great door of Vault 101 and into the annals of legend. But the tale of humanity will never come to a close, for the struggle of survival is a war without end. And war never changes.